Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Frankly Speaking on Fridays podcast. I am your host, Frank Pador. It is January 6, 2023, 6:58 p.m. Eastern Time. Hello. I'm actually here. I'm actually doing it on a Friday. Isn't that different? Hello, everyone. How have you been doing? How was your New Year's? Did you celebrate responsibly? Did you celebrate greatly? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you not? Let me know. Email me, fsofpodcast@gmail.com. Send in topics, just articles of interest. Just say hello, fsofpodcast@gmail.com. Well, today marks a couple of things. One, it's the first Friday, which is interesting because next Friday is going to be Friday the 13th. The first month of this year, we get a Friday the 13th. So that's kind of interesting. Along with that, it is 4 months today that I started my new job, and I didn't get let go, so that's also very exciting news. And along with that, New Year's came and went. So, tell me how you did. What did you do? Why did you do? Did you have a good time? What are your plans for this year? And that is basically going to be the theme of this podcast. What are we going to do with this year? Before we get into that, though, as always, we have to commemorate this podcast with a shot. Believe it or not, this is episode 53 of the FSOF podcast. So, if you drink, great. If you don't, great. If you're drinking water, great. Let us raise a toast to you, to me, and to the podcast. Prost. Ugh. That did not want to go down well. Anyway, let's talk about you for a second. So, what are you happy that has gone with now in 2022? And what are you looking forward to in 2023, if anything at all? And if you don't have anything at all, I think that is exactly why New Year's resolutions exist. I guess I'm just jumping right into the topic because I don't know what else to say. Because I want to hype you up, but I don't want to hype you up as a result of this next week to come. Let's talk about this next year to come. And I know that's a big thing to be able to try and, that's not bite size. That's not kids' meal size. But honestly, I don't know where else to begin. And the reason why I say that is because when I was growing up, I would mock people for having New Year's resolutions. And in high school, I would say, yeah, my New Year's resolution is to not have a New Year's resolution. I fail every single year. I don't get it. And yeah, I suppose one of the reasons why I did that was because I didn't really care. I didn't care about my year to come. It's like, oh, whatever happens, happens. Now that I'm older, I'm 30. I'll actually be turning 31 this month. So actually, when does, that'll be the 20, yeah, I turn 31 on the 26th, so on the 27th, we'll see about, what I have to say, or do there. So, I would mock these things when I was younger. Oh, New Year's resolution, well, you're just gonna go ahead and set up all these goals for you just to fail? They're not gonna happen. Obviously, I was a very sinister and negative individual when I was younger. Still kind of to this day, but I think maybe a little more chippier. I think the thing that I was unable to really appreciate or even understand when I was younger is actually the need to have these goals. The need to be able to try to look at a new year as a new start. And I don't want to say it's like, new year, new me. No, get that bubbly attitude out of here. Not on this podcast. I think what my younger self did not realize is that when you grow older, so much leaves you. Friends, family, dreams, even, for some people, many people. And I think having something which is unrelated to your profession and related to your profession of goals is actually a structure that I never really appreciated before. Now that I am older, now that I am entering a phase into my life where I need to have this structure, especially outside of college. Maybe that was it. I had structure because of college. I knew what was going to happen when it was going to happen, more or less. Now that I'm out of college, I'm all done with my extracurriculars and my education, other than just normal life learning. I need structure. And while working a 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday, like that's structure, but it's redundancy. It is just hit the play button for about 8.5 hours. Okay, now be you. What do you want to do? How do you want to better yourself with this allotted amount of time that still remains within your day, within your month, your week, your year? And I think that's why I have now am in a situation where I can appreciate and have goals which are achievable. And that's something that I think that we all need to be able to sit down and look at ourselves honestly. Again, honestly, nothing about yourself can be built or bettered if you are not honest about yourself. Now, don't be like harmfully honest, you know? Don't be like, oh, well, you're a lazy fat bitch and you're not going to be able to get anything done, so why bother? No. Calm down. You're a little bit lazy. You procrastinate. Okay, let's work on that. Let's write things out. That's the other thing. Write these things out. What are your achievable goals that you want to do? How can you better yourself? What do you see as a flaw, or at least a part of you that you dislike and you want to work on? And that's something that I am really trying to do for this year, for 2023. The time seems right. Where I am within my life seems right. And the resources that I currently have seem right for me to be able to do this as well. And this is, I speak for myself only. I don't know how your life may look. I don't know what resources you may have available to yourself. I don't know how you're doing financially. I hope all of you are doing great. I really do. But I also know that more than likely, that is unfortunately not the case. So, last podcast I said to you that I actually did a New Year's resolution. It was crunch time, but I did it. I read one book cover to cover. And I know that's not impressive to some people, but it is to me. Just because I am a slow ass reader. So, picking up from right there, I can tell you a couple of things that I want to do with my life within this year. And as I said before, write it out. So I'm going to pull up a Word document right here, and I'm going to bulletin point it with numbers. Let's see the things that I want to do. So, read at least 2 books. That's on my, let's see, join a gym and work out at least twice a week. That's tangible. We can do that. We can do that. So read 2 books, join a gym. I guess along there I'll put in, get in better shape. That kind of goes hand in hand, right? I haven't developed a goal. Here's the thing. We're developing goals. We're not developing sub-goals. So there is that. Be in a better financial situation, aka pay off debts. I have credit card debts. I have a Fifth Third credit card that I want to pay off. I have a Kohl's card. I have a Sally Mae personal loan that I need to take off. And then I still owe for my therapy sessions. So that's a big chunk of debt. And I'm in a position where I might actually be able to do something about that. I'm not saying pay off all debts, just pay off what I can. And I know, and I truly believe that I will indeed be able to pay off my Fifth Third credit card and my Kohl's card this year. Doesn't have to be dump all your money right now, get it done. No, pace yourself. There are other things that need to be purchased and bought and tended to. So Again, bite-size these things. These are just big structures. These are the goals for the end of the year. 11, 12 months down the line. We'll be able to see if we can check these things off, right? Okay, so along with that, another personal goal for myself is to be signed onto a nationally ranked agency. The agency that I have right now is not nationally ranked. You know, they're not the big guys, but they can get me there. Like I said before, I've been doing these auditions. They're coming up again this month from January through October. So I have 10 more auditions to try and get myself signed on to a nationally ranked agency. That is a goal of mine. So, read at least 2 books, join a gym, get into better shape, be in a better financial situation, pay off debts, be signed on to a nationally ranked agency. Okay, let's see, what else do I want to do? Oh, here we go. Practice more French horn - guitar. I need to keep up my musicianship. I've been playing horn for 20 years. I have a master's degree. I cannot lose that. I can better myself. I know that I can. That means that I need to take time out of the day, every day or every week, and set up structured, set up structured times in order for me to be able to sit down, practice, and better myself as a musician that I once was. Oh, speaking along with finances, but I'm just going to do this separately. Upgrade my studio's equipment. As of right now, I have talked to my tech guy, and there's 2 pieces of equipment that he recommended to me. In total, it's $3,000. Not going to say what, I will eventually, but as of right now, that is still a tangible goal for me to be able to do. So, upgrade my studio's equipment. Let's see, read books, join gym, do better financially, pay off some debt, sign on to a nationally ranked agency, practice horn, upgrade my studio's equipment. Here is a big one. Eat healthier - drink less alcohol. So it's come to my attention yet again. I've talked about this before, and I've talked about it openly. And it's a little embarrassing, but I do have a problem at times. Not always, but I do have a problem at times keeping my consumption of alcohol to a point and to a level which is 1, safe, and 2, I don't become someone who I am horribly ashamed of, knowing that they're within me. It seems as if I have too much of particular alcohols, specifically brown alcohol, so brandy, whiskey, bourbon, things like that, I become very mean. Like aggressively mean. Not like I'm going to go and like punch you or beat you, but verbally I become mean, and it's not someone that I am proud of, and it's not someone that I want to be, and it's not someone who should ever come out. So I need to do better about that. I need to count my drinks. I need to make sure that I'm drinking water in between my drinks. And that should allow me to not only be healthier, because I got a bit of a beer and alcohol gut going on as a result of that, but also eating healthier, going to the gym. That's gonna do a lot of good things for me. All right, so read 2 books, join a gym, get in better financial situation, pay off debts, sign on to a nationally ranked agency, practice horn and guitar more, upgrade my studio's equipment, eat healthier, and drink less. I think that's it. At least that's what comes off the top of my head as most prevalent and important. And like I said before, all of this is achievable. I can certainly read 2 books. I can join a gym right now, and I can make out time within my schedule to go there at least twice. Even if that means that I have to wake up at God horrible early in the morning in order to make this happen, that might be good for me. I don't know. It's also the time to be able to experiment with these things as well. get in a better financial situation, so keep my job and do good at my job. Pay off debts. Yes, yes. Sign on to a nationally ranked agency. That's going to take a bunch of steps just because I have to start improving my acting, improving my voice act. Oh, that's the other thing. Upgrade and better Fedora Studios. .com. My website is so out of date. It's nuts. I need to do better about that. Again, achievable. And that actually helps me with the signed onto a nationally ranked agency, because I have done other projects this past year that I can go ahead and post onto fedorastudios.com, make myself seem more advertisable, make myself seem a little more professional. In addition to that, I have done some research, and this will help me do more research and reading and practicing into being a voice actor, into being a narrator, to being able to produce my own vocal reels so that I can send them to my agent so that she can then send them on to other prospective companies and people who are looking for other people to do voiceovers for them. So there is that. So practice more horn guitar. That's for me. And also for the ensembles that I'll be playing in, and I do not want to be an embarrassment because the next repertoire list has already come out. And there's some heavy horn stuff in there, so I got to get my lips up to date. Upgrade my studio. Like I said, that's in conjunction with being better financially. And with having better equipment, I'll be able to produce more professionally and just things that I want. My current setup, I'm not really able to like yell and scream without it just going kerfuff. I'm not able to edit it to a way which is satisfactory to me because I do not have the best of equipment to do so. So that'll be fine. Let's see. Eat healthier, drink less alcohol. Yep, that all goes towards the get better in shape. And also by doing that, I'll also boost and elevate my mood, help my self-esteem because I won't think that I'm a tub of guts. And I will be able to, I'll be able to feel that confidence again. Like when I was being representative of a town agency in Indy, I was doing great. I was feeling great because I was going to the gym. I had that structure because of college. So when I put on a suit and I walked into the agency, I felt that confidence. And then right along with my voice backing it up, like I felt great. I do not feel that. I do not feel powerful in my suit like I once did. And that's sad. But I can get it back, and I know that I can. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of resilience. That is the point of these goals as an adult. It's not for everyone, but it's certainly for me right now. And then last but not least, upgrade and better fedorastudios.com. That will come in time. Once I better my craft, once I get things together, once I upgrade my equipment, fedorastudios.com will be looking awesome. And I might even contact my previous artist again and get some updated artwork. My streaming services certainly need that. Some events have happened, and some new artwork would be appreciated. So I have written down and kind of explained what, why, and how I am going to achieve all of those. Now, of course, within a lot of those, there's a lot of things that need to be broken down even further, especially with working out. What am I going to do? How am I going to do? And how often am I going to do? So there's a lot of like smaller goals. Again, these are big points. 8 big points that I wish to be able to achieve by the end of the year. Now we have to build up those achievable steps in order to be able to do so. So what is your list? What do you got? Pause the podcast right now. Write out your list. What do you got that is achievable and tangible? And when you come back, I have this article for you that I'm going to read that I hope will help reinforce your ability to be able to do this. So, here we go with the article. It comes from the New York Times, written by Jen A. Miller, illustrations by Abby Lossing. It is entitled How to Make and Keep a New Year's Resolution. So this is what it says. Are you making resolution in the new year? Warning, more than half of all resolutions fail, but this year they don't have to be yours. Here is how to identify the right resolution to improve your life, create a plan on how to reach it, and become part of a small group of people that successfully achieve their goal. So, pick the right resolution. You'll give yourself your best shot at success if you set a goal that's doable and meaningful too. According to the time management firm Frankly Covey, 1/3 of resolutioners don't make it past the end of January. A lot of these resolutions fail because they're not the right resolutions, and a resolution may be wrong for one of three reasons. It's a resolution created based on what someone else or society is telling you to change. It's too vague, and you don't have a realistic plan for achieving your resolution. Your goals should be smart. Your goals should be smart and smart. Is an acronym. That's an acronym. Coined in the Journal Management Review in 1981 for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It may work for management, but it can also work in setting your resolutions too. So specific, S. Your resolution should be absolutely clear. Quote, making a concrete goal is really important rather than just vaguely saying, I want to lose weight. You have to have a goal. How much weight do you want to lose and at what time interval? End quote, said Catherine L. Milkman, an associate professor of operations, information, and decisions at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Quote, 5 pounds in the next 2 months. That's going to be more effective. End quote. Measurable. This may seem obvious if your goal is a fitness or weight loss related one, but it's also important that you're trying to cut back on something too. If, for example, you want to stop biting your nails, take pictures of your nails over time so you can keep track of your progress and how those nails grow back out, said Jeffrey Gardner, a psychologist and professor at Touro College. Logging progress into a journal or making notes on your phone or in an app designed to help you track behaviors can reinforce the progress no matter what your resolution may be. A, achievable. This doesn't mean that you can't have big stretch goals, but trying to take too big a step too fast can leave you frustrated or affect other areas in your life to the point that your resolution takes over your life. And both you and your friends and your family flail. So, for example, resolving to save enough money to retire in 5 years when you're 30 years old is probably not realistic, but saving an extra $100 a month may be. And if that's easy, you can slide that number up to an extra $200, $300, or $400 a month. Relevant. R. Is this a goal that really matters to you, and are you making it for the right reasons? Quote, if you do it out of the sense of self-hate or remorse or a strong passion in that moment, it doesn't usually last long, end quote, said Dr. Michael Bennett, a psychiatrist and co-author to 2 self-help books. Quote, if you build up a progress where you're thinking harder about what's good for you, you're changing the structure of your life, you're bringing people into your life who will reinforce that resolution, then I think you have a fighting chance, end quote. And last, T, time-bound. Like achievable, the timeline towards reaching your goal should be realistic too. That means giving yourself enough time to do with lots of smaller, intermediate goals set up along the way. Quote, focus on these small wins so you can make gradual progress, end quote. Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit and a former New York Times writer, said, quote, if you're building a habit, you're planning for the next decade, not the next couple of months. So, create your plan. Your end goal won't just magically appear. Here are ways to figure out how to get there. Because you won't just wake up and change your life, you not only need a plan for what to do, but also for what roadblocks you'll come across along the way. If you're trying to form or break a habit, Dr. Duhigg suggested breaking down that habit into 3 parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. For example, bad habit, I check Twitter too often. Q, I feel isolated. Routine, I check Twitter. Reward, I feel connected. Way to change the behavior. Instead of checking Twitter, get up and talk to a colleague. What about if you have a really bad health habit? All right, bad habit. I smoke. Q, I'm tired. Routine, I smoke a cigarette. Reward, I'm stimulated. Way to change that behavior. Instead of smoking a cigarette, replace the stimulus with something else, like coffee. Or if your habit affects your whole day, bad habit, I don't get enough sleep at night. Q, I feel like I need time to myself in the evening. Routine, I stay up too late watching TV. Reward, I'm entertained. Way to change the behavior. Instead of staying up too late to watch TV, carve out a special time each day to spend by yourself. Even if that may mean asking for help with your children or taking a break from work each day. Make it personal. Of course, the cue and routine for a common bad habit like smoking is as individual as the person trying to quit. You may need to do some work to figure out what the real cue for the habit you want to change is, and then what will replace it. Both the cue and reward should be easy and obvious. Let's look at one example in depth. For running, a cue could be just putting on your running clothes, even if at first you don't do anything after that. Quote, sometimes when people have never exercised before, the researchers are working with them to get them to exercise. The first week is, you should just put on your running clothes. Don't even leave the house, Mr. Duhigg said. Then add the first step to the new routine. Put on running clothes, walk around the block. Quote, you want to create an environment where you're making very slow progress that is guaranteed to deliver victories to you, end quote, he said. And then the reward at the end of the action must be an actual reward too, so that it reinforces the routine and makes you want to do it. Quote, otherwise your brain won't latch on to the behavior, end quote, Mr. Duhigg said. For example, if you run in the morning, then rush through your shower and your commute, you might end up at your desk sweaty, so in effect you're punishing yourself for running, he said. Your brain will pick up on that punishment and push back against intended activity. Your resolution didn't necessarily fail because you failed, but because you were trying to do it at the wrong time, which resulted in a punishment instead of a reward at the end. For running, a reward can be a nice long shower, a piece of chocolate, or indulging in a feeling of pride, which can be reinforced by tracking your running in a journal and writing that down. But while your plan should be realistic and encouraging, it should also allow for inevitable hurdles that are going to crop up. Pauline Wallin, a psychologist and author of Taming Your Inner Brat, said any resolution plan should include room for mistakes. Quote, you're there for the long haul. You have to expect slip-ups, she said. There will be times when you will say, I'll make a mess of things and I'm just going to start again tomorrow. Don't berate yourself. Focus on what you're doing good for yourself rather than what mistake you made, she said, end quote. Leap over resolution hurdles. No one's perfect, and your quest for your resolution won't be either, but you can get back on track. What's the best way to tackle the problems that arise on your way to success? First, remember, no matter how well you plan, change is hard. Quote, you're up against a part of yourself that's never going to change. It's always going to push at you in certain directions that are unhealthy. You're going to have to really create something step by step in order to manage it, Dr. Bennett said. So before hurdles get in your way, make sure you have a plan to jump over them. Here are a few common problems people face in achieving their goals. It's too much, and I have so far to go. A perceived lack of progress can be frustrating. Dr. Wallin suggested focusing on whatever the smaller number it is, your progress or how much you have left to do. This smaller number technique is based on a 2012 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research that found that focusing on the smaller number and reaching a goal kept people more motivated. So, for example, if you want to run 5 miles, which of the following thoughts is more likely to keep you going? I've already run 1 mile, and in another mile I'll double it. I've run just 1 mile and I still have 4 to go. According to this theory, you're likely better off with the first one. So when you are first starting on your journey towards your resolution, instead of looking at the big number left to get there, look at what you've already achieved. Towards the end, when that goal number shrinks, it's perfectly fine to look at your progress, but 0 is on what little remains before you hit your goal. Trying to stay positive, but it's not working. Positive thinking isn't going to be enough, said Gabriel Oettingen, a professor of psychology at New York University and author of Rethinking Positive Thinking Inside the New Science of Motivation. In fact, positive thinking may be the thing holding you back. In her studies, she found that the more positively people fantasize and daydream about their future success, the less well they do in terms of actually having success. She said, they already experienced it positively in their minds, and then they relax, she said. These positive fantasies are helpful for exploring the different possibilities for the future, but they are hardship when it comes to actually putting in the effort and the energy that wish fulfillment actually needs. They sap energy. A better technique than positive thinking? Try to be positive, but realistic. Yes, imagine the goal or positive fantasy, but then look at what obstacles are in the way and how to get over them. Dr. Oettingen calls this technique WOOP, Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. Wish, what do you want? Outcome, what would the ideal outcome be? What will your life look like when you hit your goal? Obstacle, you know yourself. What will try to stop you? What has sidelined you before? Plan, how will you get around it? Answering these questions doesn't need to take a lot of time. Dr. Oettingen suggested 3 to 5 minutes to start. Make sure you're in a place where you won't be interrupted. I can't stick to this routine. Maybe your routine simply isn't flexible enough. In a 2015 study, researchers paid 2 groups of people to go to the gym for a month. The first group was paid if they started a workout within a 2-hour window they chose in advance. The second group was paid whenever they went to the gym. After that month, researchers found that the second group was more likely to stick with the gym habit. The takeaway? Set a plan, but be flexible when life gets in the way. It's too critical to learn how to have a backup plan rather than just throw your hands up and give up, said Dr. Milkman, who conducted the study. I'm getting too much outside pressure. This could be a sign that you're trying to change for the wrong reasons. Have a talk with yourself about whether you want to make this change for you or because someone else told you to. Always try to put a beat in there where you consult with yourself, said Dr. Bennett. I slipped up. The first time you revert to your old ways, forget it. Quote, if you screw up, what you should do the first time is just pretend it didn't happen. Don't engage in that negative mindset, Mr. Duhigg said. Just wake up the next day, pretend you didn't slip, and go back to whatever the pattern was you were trying to encourage. If you keep slipping up, instead of blaming yourself, try to look at your behavior to figure out where the process is breaking down. In The Power of Habit, Dr. Duhigg writes about a man who had tried to quit smoking dozens of times until he identified the reason he smoked was because it made him feel calm. Then he tried to find a calming substitute for smoking and kept failing, eventually landing on meditation, which allowed him to quit smoking. If a choice doesn't succeed, that doesn't mean that we blame ourselves. It means we have more data for our experience, and we're probably going to succeed better next time, Mr. Duhigg said. Find a community. You don't need to do it alone, especially if your resolution starts in the new year, when you'll have plenty of company in trying to make a life change. State your goal. You don't necessarily need to find a special group, but you should let a person or two know that you're setting a goal. Quote, tell them your plan and ask them to hold you accountable, Dr. Milkman said. That way, it's a public commitment, and you might feel like you have a community supporting you that wants to see you succeed. You can also use social media to make your goal public, like posting on Facebook that you will learn to cross-stitch by July 1st, along with updates of your hobby and progress. But that can be a double-edged sword, Dr. Wallen said. You might get a boatload of sympathy at a time when you really need a strong push. Or even worse, you'll get unsolicited feedback from someone you haven't spoken to since 7th grade. You'll get a lot of advice, which most people don't want, but are going to get it anyway, she said. Stand to lose something. Namely, money. That means you can give your brother $100 and you can't get it back until you reach your goal. Or, for something more formal and formatted, Dr. Milkman recommends StickK.com, a website where you can make a financial pledge that you'll lose if you don't reach your goal. If there's money on the line, the consequences are much larger, Dr. Milkman said. There are really stakes in the game. Find like-minded resolvers. You may find online support groups and forums on Facebook or not full of people who are reaching for the same goal, but real-life groups can help too. Mr. Duhigg said that one reason Alcoholics Anonymous and other anonymous groups works for a lot of people is first because it's a community, but also because there's a belief in something else that isn't necessarily God. For example, people have used a belief in a general higher power, even in nature, to help them achieve their goals. Quote, belief is a metaphorical muscle that with practice gets stronger and easier to use, he said. Ultimately, people who are looking to change a really alluring and destructive behavior like alcoholism need to believe in the capacity to change, end quote. Support groups can help because it's a group setting with a lot of social reinforcement and features examples of people who have changed. Cut back on bad influences. While some friends and family want to help, others can hold you back, especially if your resolutions to cut back on a bad behavior means you can't participate in that behavior with them, or they see your wanting to change as a rejection of the way they live their lives. For those who push back against your decision to change, your happy hour buddies, your smoking crew at work, Dr. Bennett suggests creating a script that says what you are trying to do without any shame behind it. Look at it like a memo to the people in your life about the change you hope to make. Quote, you're trying to make an administrative position on the issue with yourself and with others. You're not trying to get emotional about it, end quote, he said. For example, if you're trying to quit smoking and getting ribbing from a group of people you usually smoke with at work, try this. I really enjoy our time outside, but I'm really sorry that I have to back off now because stopping smoking is so important to my health. Hanging out with the gang during the smoke session would be more that I could tolerate again. My regrets. If you clearly state what you're trying to do, and that person continually pushes back, it could be a sign that the relationship isn't a good one for you. This can often be an issue in a relationship where one partner continues with a destructive habit when the other is trying to quit. Quote, you really need to ask yourself whether this is a red flag about something in a relationship that can be very dangerous for you that you want to be prepared for in advance, Dr. Bennett said. If you miss your goal, you didn't fail. You're your own experiment. So here's what to try on your second, third, or 20th attempt. First and foremost, if you fail at your resolution attempt, don't beat yourself up and know you're not alone. After all, Dr. Milkman points out, quote, we struggle to do things that we know are good for us because we give into impulses for instant gratification. Feel free to start fresh. Want to try again? Remember, a resolution doesn't need to be tied to New Year's. It can be following a weekend, following a birthday, she said. So if you missed your New Year's goal, you can start again tomorrow, on a Monday after Valentine's Day, or any marker that means something to you, just as long as you're ready to give it another go. It won't guarantee success, but you don't need to wait until another year comes around on the calendar to give it another go. And be kind to yourself. We talk in much harsher tones to ourselves than we would to other people, said Dr. Wallen. We wouldn't say to a kid trying to learn something that's so stupid, but that's how we talk to ourselves. When resolutions run off the rails or fall apart, but you still want to try again, talk to yourself like a child who feels discouraged. You wouldn't say, that's because you're an idiot. You would say, come on, you can do it. Dr. Wallen offered a few more common self-put-downs and ways to flip the script. Instead of, I blew it, what's the point? Say, that was a bad decision, but a good learning opportunity. What's my next step? Instead of, I'm so hungry, say, I'm hungry, which means it's working. It's a bit uncomfortable, but I've gone through worse. Instead of, my legs are so sore I can't possibly work out today, say, skip my leg muscles a rest today. What can I do to work my arms? Or, of course my muscles are sore. They're supposed to be. It'll get easier. Instead of, this is too hard, say, making it through today is going to really build my confidence. So I think that article kind of reinforces a lot. It gives us a very clear structure, clear goals to do, how to follow them, and if we do fail, it's okay. Just do it again. So, with that said, I'm going to close the podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Email the podcast at fsofpodcast@gmail.com. Tell me what your New Year's resolutions are, and I will keep you up to date with mine. So, take care of yourselves. Good night. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. And until next time, au revoir.